Requiem for London. Tonight, we set our scene back within the confines of Coldmorn's illustrious Elysium. After a meeting with the Invictus, the Circle of the Crone, and the Carthian movement, and with one of the largest backroom deals now dealt with of the night, Balthazar now finds himself with a bit of time to pursue some more personal endeavours that perhaps may have arisen from some of the gossip and unseen signals that some kindred may have been giving over the course of this Elysium. It's a cold one. You have a whole wealth of kindred to go and speak to. The consensus was that the aria from your not so physical friend was absolutely delightful.
Good. So, are people, like, generally speaking, enjoying the evening?
By and large, yes. There aren't really any downers. I mean, you've had a couple of kindred that have been rowdy, but no one that's been violent or threatening. No more than kindred usually are, anyway.
Has anyone had to be forcibly ejected or anything melodramatic?
A few people have had to have been warned, but nobody's had to have been ejected.
Excellent. Excellent. Coldmorn kind of nods. He's been keeping his eye on everything that's going on. He walks through the Elysium leaning on his cane. It's a good night. We haven't had one of those in a while. But yeah. Everyone appears to be happy. That's the main thing, of course. So, yeah. Looks down, checks his phone. What time is it in the evening right now, like, give or take?
Oh. It's probably hit midnight now. It's been a few hours. You opened up the Elysium around when, like 8ish?
Yeah, probably 7:38.
Yeah. So, fair bit of time in the evening for kindred to go hunt and then show up to Elysium. Yeah, it's been around 4 to 5 hours now. The Elysium is sort of hit its peak. It's very slowly beginning to wind down now, or at least people are no longer expecting any big announcements or events past this point. Of course, you know that those kindred are very, very wrong.
What else do I have planned this evening?
Well, there was the matter of your security having to deal with a suitcase that was left outside.
Oh, yes. Should I do that now? I feel like I should do that now, or should I wait till I have a Pompey to do that? It's up to you. I'll go and do it now if you...
It's your choice. It is your Elysium.
It is, in fact, my Elysium.
Wouldn't want any unauthorized kindred messing around with what could possibly be a very explosive device.
You know what we're going to do? Is the great man himself, our Lord and Savior, kisses cross and points to the sky. Is our Lord and Savior Bagman still here?
You noticed he had actually wandered off with Kingston during the aria, but he doesn't appear to be around now. He might still be around in obfuscation, but if he is, you don't necessarily really have a way of finding him. He may
I
have
can go
left
make
early.
I can go make another announcement on the loudspeaker. I don't think I won't. um.
He's an enigma, that bagman.
Are any of the sheriffs currently here? Because if it is an explosive, this is a matter for the sheriffs.
A moment. There are definitely multiple sheriffs here. You have Mort Kozlova, you have Peter Sully, and in fact you also have Maury Ken here as well. The only sheriff that is not present at this event is the sheriff of the North Quarter of London, Sheriff Saturn Fane, who is a member of the Sanctified, but she's currently not present. Perhaps policing the kindred that are not attending Elysium this night.
Yeah, he's going to walk over very politely to... It's, which was the one who I worked with before, who Loki saved the life of.
That'd be Sheriff Maury.
He's going to walk over to Sheriff Maury, and he's going to lean down and he's going to say, Sheriff, may I have a private word with you?
He will turn his head towards you and will voicelessly gesture to a seat at his table.
It's more than likely better if we walk and talk, if I'm being frank.
You see that he gauges you for a quick moment, as if to verify the honesty of your statement.
It appears there's a bomb outside levels of earnest.
Or I guess earnestness.
Yeah.
He will stand up and he will say, "Where are we going?"
If you'd step this way, please. We're just taking a little jaunt. As it is that they start to walk, he'll say, my security have uncovered a suspicious suitcase has been left on the premises. I felt it was best to inform you. And not to cause a general panic.
I see. One moment. I just need to find someone.
Take your time.
He will wander off for a moment. And we'll send a... Actually, he won't know. He will... Before sort of returning to you with a... unfamiliar looking person. 1 second. put them in there. Face claim for you. I don't know what you see. Da, 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 da.
Go and have a look. See.
Yep. She doesn't really interact with you. Rather, she will wander off. She'll begin to head with purpose towards the entrance. Samori will walk back up to you and let's see. I've found someone that can verify the contents of the package.
Excellent. Thank you, Sheriff. Are they also capable of, well, should it need to be disarmed, capable of doing so?
That shouldn't be a problem.
Wonderful. I thank you for your time. He's going to turn and follow this person, because I want to know if my club's getting blown up.
The woman heads out just right out the front entrance. Then takes a brief look around. And you and she both see a small concentration of security on the right side of the main entrance. When she looks to her left, when you look to her left, you can see a relatively well-concealed suitcase behind a large stone plant pot. I assume you have scenery on both sides of the entrance just to spruce it up, make it look nice. Housing a rather tall plant. But she just stares at it for a moment. And we'll look back at you and she will say, "It's for you."
I beg your pardon?
You are intended to be the receiver of that package.
Yes. Is it going to explode?
No.
Oh.
The only thing
that
inside of it are a small list of documents.
Oh. He flicks a flick knife open. Just kind of like he basically he flicks a flick knife out of his a pocket, and he's going to cut open the package just to have a look see inside. Chris, in that case.
You flick open you open up the suitcase. You just cut it open, and when you open it up, you see. You see, as this individual stated, all that's inside is a small, basically a several-page document that's been stapled together from the top left corner.
He looks over. Who sent this?
Man in their mid 30s, bold, suited, African descent, with all very distinctive black shades.
Does that sound like anyone I know?
No, not at all.
Okay. On the roadside, before he picks it up and has it brought inside, I'm just going to look through the documents. What kind of documents are these? And would you like an academics role connected to it?
Oh no, when you when you go to read the documents, the initial page is simply states, good evening to whoever is reading this message. While these documents are intended for Balthazar Coldmorn, we understand it is probable, if not likely, that this message shall end up in the hands of another figure of much greater importance among your hierarchy. Within these documents you'll find the list of demands requested to us by Balthazar Coldmorn that would be required to be met in order to facilitate a lasting understanding between your kind and our own.
Balthazar nods. Chris, before I do anything, because this has changed my tack a little bit, what is the contents of the demands, or just a brief overview?
Brief overview. Okay. So, a Cliff Notes version of these demands, which is probably what you're going to get anyway, is that, firstly, all kindred are to detach themselves from all political institutions, be they local or national. They'll detach themselves from all military institutions and all policing and all emergency institutions, be they or emergency services, local or national. Any individuals with lasting attachments, or attachments that are otherwise irreversible to the kindred that have attachments to these to these institutions, must be reported so that they may be treated. Kindred that cannot control themselves, and, or I wouldn't say this, but it would be kindred that that have kindred that from this document, basically it says from this point forward, kindred that commit further acts of violence upon the human populace must be reported. It doesn't say anything other than that regarding those individuals or regarding those kindred. And in addition, all kindred are required to detach themselves from all financial institutions within the City of London.
Oh.
Basically, kindred must remove themselves from all political, military, and emergency institutions, and financial ones. And any acts of violence committed upon the human populace by kindred must be reported. Any individuals that have been otherwise permanently bonded or bound to a kindred must also be reported.
He stands and he turns to the woman and he smiles. I thank you for your rather excellent service. The danger here is past. The concept of danger here is past. I thank you again. If you'll excuse me, I have a rather important missive to deliver.
I believe you do.
He will turn on his heel, and he doesn't run, but he walks quickly upstairs, back up to the balcony, and he will see if the king and queen are actually indisposed in their private box. Just to kind of, if they are, he will wait. If they are not, he will step inside and politely cough.
You don't immediately spot the queen, but the king is present.
Steps inside. Your Majesty, I have interesting tidings, he says, holding the papers in his hand.
For a man who was enjoying himself so much earlier, Coldmorn, you seem awfully flustered. Whatever is the matter?
He steps inside the room, and he'll actually notice that he will. Is there anyone else in the room with him, or is it just him and Stanford?
He has his security entourage, but they're all mortal.
He'll say, Your Majesty, I am as loyal a scion as any other. Would you mind asking your security staff to just wait outside for a few minutes? Idle ears are not good for what I must say.
He'll gesture to the four individuals and they will leave.
He walks forward and he says, some weeks ago I undertook a private investigation into the organization whom it is has been targeting our kind throughout the City of London. I managed to unmask the head of their Special Operations Division within the London Met, the so-called alias given as Captain Kraken. I give her actual name because Evan can't remember. But he'll say, in the process of this, she and I had a conversation. A rather pleasant and civil conversation, I'll give you, wherein after she identified me rather than violence ensuing, we proceeded to speak. I asked if there was the capability or the possibility of negotiations of a settlement, say, possibility of a truce or ceasefire or amicable agreement. We have been, well, frankly, it has been an issue for us to uncover these individuals' true motives, and indeed their extensive backing has been hindering us at every opportunity. And in the meantime, one kindred dies after another. Tonight, he places it down on the table in front of him. They have presented us with their list of what they would require were there indeed to be a peace settlement.
Anything resembling a smile on the king's face has vanished. He looks very stone-faced. He will open up his hand for the documents that are in your possession and say, "Let me have a look."
There you are, sir. I hand over the document.
Oh, as an aside, before I forgot to mention, all of this has been typed out on a computer. Like, it's been clearly printed off.
Okay, it's not been handwritten. That's fine.
No, and there's no signature on it.
Okay.
All kindred involved must detach themselves from political, military. They're effectively asking us to cripple ourselves.
Yes. He nods. However, my concern, sir, is more the fact of these individuals have control over a number of strategic armories throughout the city. They have some of the best equipped and trained police forces that I've ever seen. They outmaneuver us at nearly every turn. There's only a small handful of ways that this is possible. The resources are incredible but understandable. They know about us. They know our terms. They know our words. They know things that only a kindred would know. He takes a seat in the chair, in one of the chairs in the room before he'll say, "They have an infiltrator here. Of that, I'm certain. The fact that I was able to get them to agree to peace, or rather, to agree to the concept of negotiation, has, if nothing else, bought us breathing room. If you've noticed, they have not launched any attacks in the last X number of days since I asked them for a ceasefire or a peace treaty. I bought us some time. But if we actively wish to engage in this, we need to identify who is feeding them their information, and that font must be stopped."
Well, I believe it is prudent that we look to our own as possible suspects. I wouldn't necessarily jump to the conclusion that there is one. It is possible, in fact, dare I say it is likely, as he sort of skims through these documents, that this organization has been observing us for years. That doesn't preclude the possibility that there is an infiltrator. It would have certainly expedited this whole process for them.
The issue is, sir, is that the information that they possess is modern. They know about things such as the details of our civil regime changes, the names of various different kindred. The information is too up to date to have simply been gathered over time. Yes, they could learn the term Invictus or Carthian if they listen long enough, but they can't possibly know the name of the various different kindred, their positions of power, etc. They are being fed more active information.
I concur. It is why myself and the Queen instituted the technology ban a month or so ago. We have confirmed that they have been obtaining information from us via texts, emails, and messages sent electronically between kindred. And I don't know about yourself, Mr. Coldmorn, but many kindred within this domain are awfully presumptuous about their level of security.
Yes, sir.
It is the only reason why I have allowed Bagman to continue his own pet project. He's the only one that can be trusted to keep to a standard.
May I make a suggestion, Your Highness?
Of course.
We require time. Time for Bagman to do what Bagman does. Time for some of the more studious and more astute kindred to weed out if there is a worm, an operative here. Let us move forward with the concept of a negotiated settlement. They know me. They've met me. I have interacted with them civilly. Let us stage the concept of peace talks and a truce until it is that we are able to more aptly deal with this situation. It will buy us needed time, so they are not breathing down our necks and kicking in our doors.
I do not believe they intend to seriously negotiate with us based on these demands. With the information they possess on us, they would know that these conditions are untenable.
I tend to find that in humanity, the ego is the most powerful ploy. They think that they are winning. They are going to want to keep thinking that they are winning. So, a negotiated settlement whereby more and more is given and chipped away, as it is they appear to have victory, they will attempt to savor it longer and longer. And as I've said, a handful of knights bought is a handful of kindred lives saved, and gives more astute individuals the ability to circumvent and to hopefully find any information on who might be feeding these individuals our plans, schemes, and motivations. And I am happy to take this danger upon myself for the good of the domain and the good of the unconquered.
Perhaps a Coldmorn, but keep in mind you are a kindred of relevance within this domain, and you connect back to many other kindred of importance within this domain as well. Were you to be compromised, that would be the end of the Princedom of London as a whole.
Your Majesty is indeed gifted. Your Majesty is gifted in the powers of the blood as it pertains to his Ventrue art, yes? He's basically asking, you gotta dominate, yeah?
Indeed.
Simple. And I say this as a place of trust because we are both members of the oldest and most honored kindred organization that dates back to Rome and the Camarilla. I would not offer this lightly. In the event I am taken, and in the event of any such matter, use the powers of the blood. Place a command within my mind. Have it so that in the event I say a specific phrase, erase my memories. Take all that I am. I think that is something he could, in theory, do mechanically. Basically, like
mechanically, yes, it's actually possible with base levels of Dominate. All one needs to do is simply combine the lying mind with an entombed command.
So essentially, he's saying that in the event I say a specific code phrase, if I know I'm going to be taken or something like that, it will essentially Control-Alt-Delete me as a personality, like erase my memories.
Basically, when a certain phrase basically allows for a subconscious trigger. It doesn't need to be a word, could just be any set of conditions, really, that will trigger a dominate power. A number of dominate powers, in fact, within your mind. This would need to be combined with the lying mind, so it requires a relatively advanced practitioner of dominate, but not a particularly creative one either. This would definitely be possible for the king. You've seen his prowess over dominate, or rather, you're aware of his reputation. This would be simple for him.
It's also showing how far Coldmorn is willing to go for his sect and for the domain. I'm literally saying I'm willing to try and hold them as long as I can, so you can try and get the information that you need. And in the event this goes south, I'm literally willing to fall on my own, either physical or metaphysical sword. Either I die physically or I die mentally, and I'm willing to do that for the domain, which is, I think, a pretty, potent statement.
Mm. The king considers this. He seems to give it a good 30 seconds of thought. If you're willing to subject your mind to certain conditions, then I would allow this.
With the proviso, of course, Your Highness, and I say this as a notary of the Invictus, that the strictures upon which it would be activated would be only for the good of the domain and not for any sundry or paltry concerns. Essentially, he's putting in a safeguard to say you're not just going to erase me because you think it's funny.
You know me, Sir Coldmorn, I do not deal in frivolity.
This is valid. Then I happily accept, and I'm willing to do what is necessary for the good of the domain and the good of the Invictus.
Very well. I will handle the technical aspects of this arrangement after the Elysium. I wouldn't want to spoil the rest of your evening, and this would not be an appropriate place.
No. As to the nature of the offered peace treaty, I am happy to keep it between... I'm on this topic, my lips are sealed. His Majesty may, of course, tell whomever he wishes, but I will keep it secret.
Yes. Best this not become public information, lest a misunderstanding divide the domain so shortly after we have reunified it.
There are kindred in this domain who would think that what we would be giving up would be worth the price of our lives. They don't really... Many of the young don't understand that without the power we hold in our hands, we would die. Just as surely as if we walked into the... Hang on just a second. There we go. Just as surely as if we walked into the dawn.
Agreed.
Balthazar will stand. He'll say, "If you'll excuse me, Your Highness, I have one or two other pieces of business to conduct this evening. I do hope you enjoyed the aria."
I did. It was magnificent, if I may say so myself. I've not heard such a performance in many decades.
I'm very pleased to hear it. Anna, if you'll excuse me, sir.
Of course.
Balthazar kind of walks more somberly. Like, he kind of understands. It's weird. As he walks out of that door, all that kind of goes through his head is the world is a much different place than when I was a mortal man. And it's kind of like that strange feeling of the crush of ages, if you understand what I mean. Like, how different the world is. Now than what it was. But he quickly shrugs it off. I'm going to go and meet with one of those two kindreds that you are recommended. We'll start with Stanforth's Childer. Let's get that polished away.
Of course. Miss Morales is out and about. Really just enjoying the evening. She's playing some cards with a few other kindred. She appears to be doing quite well.
My dear Miss Morales, my apologies. We've never formally been introduced. Balthazar Coldmorn. A pleasure to make your acquaintance.
Ah, Sir Coldmorn. Yes, we haven't met, have we? Pleasure.
I was wondering, my apologies, I will have my my croupier hold your hand for a few moments, if you would mind having a brief conversation with me.
Of course.
He just kind of walks a little ways away, kind of leaning on his cane, before he'll say, "I'm led to understand that you're newly in the Invictus, as it were. How are you finding life amongst our new brothers and sisters?"
Surprisingly straightforward. I suppose on the surface level, I was always well suited towards the First Estate.
You come from a great line, after all. Your sire and your grandsire. I wish to discuss a matter of practical business with you. And I think that you are uniquely suited to understanding the nature of this practical business. So basically, Chris, because there's a lot of information to dump, and I don't want to leave it out. How Balthazar is going to phrase this to her is he's going to tell her the situation with Primogen. Is it Thorn? Is his name?
Primogen Folks, I think you're talking about the banker.
Yes, the banker. But he's going to explain the situation to her, and he's going to explain his plan to basically buy up kindred houses and to buy up the kindred houses and havens. But he's going to very much spin it in the mindset of he is not going to use this to abuse his position, but he is doing it to try and take custodianship away from someone who has abused them. And though he does intend to make profit out of this, he does not intend to use them as victims or attempt to foreclose on them to extort foods. Essentially, he's going to phrase it as, I'm doing this to make sure they don't lose their homes, etc. Does that make sense? And I need her help in terms of helping to grease the way for the the big move that I'm about to make.
That's a risky gambit, not entirely unexpected.
Why do you say that?
The timing is optimal for somebody that wished to strike a blow against folks. On top of that, I'm one of the few individuals that could actually facilitate such a transition of power.
And in doing so, you earn my gratitude. And as a notary of the Invictus, earning my gratitude means that any lingering doubts as to where it is your loyalties lie are immediately banished, because, well, one benefice of my office is it's very difficult for members of the Invictus to gainsay me.
Very true. But I also risk the wrath of a city primogen if it fails.
I very much doubt that it will. As it stands now, Fawkes is desperately scrabbling to attempt to shore up his position. I think that Python is about to live up to her name and strike. After all, with this evening's clash, he threatened to take her dominion, and, well, he didn't go far enough to threaten her final death, but I think the threat was implicit. In a day or two, the news will break, and he will not have a leg to stand on. And should Fawkes come after you, or come after anyone here gathered, well, needless to say, I'm more than happy to show him the other art for which my particular vintage of bloodline are more than suited for. I'm so sad that honor duels went out of vogue.
They are no longer practical. But I'm unsure if Python would go as far as you suggest. I definitely do not believe she is interested in killing him. I overheard part of, well, the rather public spat she and Fawkes had. Python has always struck me as a woman who was more interested in making a point than taking lives.
You see, do you know that in ancient Rome, funny, I just spoke to your sire about Rome not 20 minutes ago. Did you know that in ancient Rome they had a theory or a thought process about the mob? And about how all the mob wanted were bread and circuses. If you gave them the gift of bread and circuses, you had them in your hand.
With all due respect, sir, I'm a former Carthian. I'm well aware of the concept of bread and circuses.
Well, tonight, what I intend to do is very simple. Tonight, I intend to win this entire Elysium's favor for what it is that I'm about to do, and land a death blow on Primogen Folks in terms of the public perception of him. If you aid me in my endeavor, I assure you that by the end of tonight, by the time the Elysium ends, he will be a non-entity. Would you like me to roll a persuasion check?
She would ask, and how would you go about doing so?
He smiles. Chris, in the room here tonight, right, just kind of as he glances around, there's probably a couple of hundred kindred in the room tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I identify just one kindred? Because as I said, I've got all the merits to do this between cacophony savvy and between between cacophony savvy, my contacts, my allies, etc. One kindred who I know that Folks was leaning on really hard, or else they were going to lose their haven. One that I know, just any name, any NPC you have who you know would happen to be being lent on hardcore.
A kindred he wanted to lose the haven, sorry?
A kindred who he was leaning on very hard to either pay him boons, blood, or lose their haven. Basically, someone who was being taken advantage of.
He wasn't, extorting boons and blood per se. He was more looking to expand his power base while financially attacking his opposition.
Alright, well, one kindred in this room who was being severely financially attacked then.
Oh. A kindred called Rahandra. Carthian. A kindred of local importance within the area of Southall.
He will say, tonight, when it is that you and I make two separate phone calls to respective allies. Are you familiar with a kindred by the name of Rohandra?
He ran Seville back when I was a member of the Carthians. I don't believe he's moved since then, although we haven't been in contact much. Most of the movement has little love for me after I followed my sire and departed.
Understandable. I'm led to understand that Folks owns many of her debts and has been attempting to financially lean on her in order to gain more.
Rahandra, aka Raj.
Which is Raj?
Rahandra is Raj is short for Rahandra. Actually, a guy.
Oh,
yeah.
My apologies. Master Rahandra, I'm led to understand that Primogen Folks has been leaning on them particularly hard in order to try and put them in their back pocket by financially controlling their capital and making various different moves. So in order to gain popular support tonight, after we make two separate phone calls, I intend to gift what folks took back to them publicly. As a symbol of the new peace that your illustrious sire just created this very night.
You're not giving me a lot of time here.
No. However, the rewards will be great.
Oh, then.
Do you actually want me to make it? Sorry, continue.
Well, let's say... I scratch your back, you scratch mine. You are, after all, asking me to cross a primogen of my own covenant. Not exactly a small thing to ask. But I am willing to help you.
And what is it you would have in exchange?
Oh, what all kindred want? Which is either blood or bones.
What denomination of boon will be sufficient?
Given the... Make me a presence plus persuasion roll and tell me how you would go about pitching it to her, and that will determine your penalty.
He's going to pitch it to her in the sense of, well, actually, ironically, what he's going to do is he'll say that when he makes the address, he will include her name as a benefactor in what he is doing, to basically aid in partially rebuilding some of the bridges between her and the Carthian movement.
If you offer to privately mention her, as opposed to publicly, your penalty, you'll only have a penalty of -1 dice. If you offer to do so publicly, it'll be -5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The reason for that is because it would implicate her in working against a member of her own sect, which she does not want, particularly given that she's already betrayed one covenant. It would potentially leave her with a very negative image amongst far too many kindred.
That's fair. Oh shit! I've had a really, really interesting idea, but I'll do that after I'm done here. I'm going to destroy this. I'm going to destroy this person. It's going to be vaguely unpleasant. All right. We'll mention her privately to the Carthians, and so that's going to be a total. Can I leverage my Invictus status on her because she is Invictus?
Yeah, sure. She's
So
Invictus. Your Invictus status would apply.
That's a shit. It's just a shitload of dice. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
As it should, you're a Deva.
You're not wrong.
I'd be very disappointed if you didn't have good social dice in your... Actually, there are Deva who do not have good social dice, to be fair.
Joshua didn't have. He had great social life for some things. He was absolutely terrible at other things.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does my spec in deal making apply?
You're trying to strike a deal here, so yeah.
So that's going to be 4 plus 5 is 9. 12. 15. 19 dice. 18 dice. You know what? You know what we're gonna do, Chris? Just to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna spend a point of willpower for rote.
Ooh.
And it gets the 9 again quality because it's one of my professional skills.
Yeah.
11 successes, Chris.
Oh, alright, that's a lot of successes. Damn.
That wraps exceptional success. I don't know if that does anything.
You got 6 successes on the 11 dice, and then you rerolled all your favors for your failures for an additional 5 successes. Nice. Okay. No. So past 5 successes, the dice count isn't too important unless it's for specific checks. Which is why an amount of successes like this for stuff like sorcery is hilarious, but isn't so awesome for other checks, unfortunately. But it's still an exceptional. So, because it's an exceptional dice, exceptional success. So long as you uphold your end of the bargain and follow through on the help, or rather on offering to repair her ties to the Carthians, or at least assist in doing so. At least do your part, and uphold your end of the bargain with those with those whose mortgages you buy out, with those whose havens you effectively purchase. She will not charge you a boon, so long as you uphold those two things.
You will agree. Chris, the next thing that I want to do is going to get quite interesting. I'm now notary. I am now one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means I have access to all of the oaths that are currently in existence. I can look over them, right?
Yes.
I want to look over all of the oaths as it pertains to Folks, and see if I can catch him on any technicalities.
Oh, so I suppose to go over some of the simple ones to start out with. He has an oath of serfdom to the king,
Mm-hmm.
and the queen. They're both tied into this into this oath. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much all kindred with domain in his territory, or at least large holders of domain, owe him oaths of serfdom themselves. So it's it's the daisy chain of territory.
Daisy chain.
Yeah. He has no one who possesses an oath of action to him. There are a few kindred that have oaths of penance towards him.
Interesting.
For debts left unpaid. And so their penance is service. There are also a few kindred, a few up-and-comers that have oaths of fealty to him, but it's really just a few kindred.
Okay.
Not even just a few, more like 2. Like a couple of kindred, really. A couple of up-and-comers within his territory that he has an oath of fealty to. Or rather, they have an oath of fealty to him. He does not possess any oath of fealty to any other kindred himself.
Can I make an intelligence academics roll, as I say, to just look through and basically just see if there's anything that could be considered a technicality or a loophole that I could catch him on?
don't think he's broken any debts. At least not.
Or is there a way that I could artificially make him break something, if that makes sense?
You'd need to go through all of these areas. That would take you probably a few nights to sort of go through and sort of formulate a potential plan. As quite a few kindred owe him debts, so... It's not something you'd be able to do at this Elysium.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So in that case, what Coldmorn does is he basically takes out his phone, walks outside into, like, the vestibule, and basically he's going to prime, and basically he's going to have primed his finance team prior to, obviously, when he first figured out he was going to do this, so a few hours ago, basically, and he's going to send them the authorization to go, to basically start buying. To kick his plan into action.
All right.
Or should I talk to the other kindreds you recommended first to see if I can get her on board? Or do I only need to talk to them?
Morales' support would be sufficient. It was basically either or. You don't need both.
Okay. But yes, he will then click go.
Alright.
To start buying out debts, mortgages, and contracts.
And you'll receive a response from your team that such actions are underway.
Then, Chris, what he's going to do, because I think this is going to get really interesting, is he walks into... But the other thing is, an important thing is, it's going to be from his holding company. Like, he's not hiding who's doing this, if that makes sense. He's not attempting to hide who's doing this. So what he's going to do, because Balthazar is a reconstituent motherfucker, is he's going to have the band strike up, just for music's sake, and yeah, he's going to stand in the middle of the Elysium, because I'm pretty sure that Fawkes is going to get he's going to get news of this very quickly. He might, but he's not going to be able to stop it. So I'm just going to wait in the middle of the Elysium in case he decides that he wants a verbal throwdown. Just going to wait there in the middle of the Elysium.
Gonna wait for folks?
Basically, I'm gonna see if, because Fawkes was already teetering on the edge of abject rage.
It's true.
So he's gonna see if Fawkes will actually come and basically like try and, you know, because I anticipate within about 10 to 15 minutes of us starting to do this and us starting to buy them out, he's going to get a text message or a phone call. So I'm just going to wait and see if he decides to confront me about it. Because he's already, like, at the point of near frenzy.
I'll make a check.
Oh, goody! Goody gumdrops!
Rats, he passes. I was actually kind of hoping for a failure.
You could have just had him fail.
I could have.
It helps. If we're going to verbal throwdown, I might well cause it to frenzy.
He does have decent dice, so I thought it'd be fair.
Just...
If he had like 4 or less dice, then I'd just had him auto frenzy. But he actually has like 6 dice.
He does have two. He does have 2 because I remember you saying it to me. because two things almost prompted defense. He does have 2 tempted conditions currently.
Oh, that is true. Ah, it doesn't matter in this case, though. He still passes because of his dice.
As I said, I'm just going to stand there and wait for him to come at me, bro. Because I sense he's going to come at me, bro. As a matter of fact, you know what? Is there a lovely kindred lady who Balthazar can dance with?
There's always a lovely kindred lady you can dance with.
Amazing. I just love the idea of him bullying his way onto the dance floor as Balthazar is dancing.
As you just see him, you just like go ballroom dancing in the Elysium, and you just like sashay past him as he just like gives you the look of death. just like one bald fist and a phone in the other.
Balthazar will stop. As he stops the music, he kind of raises his hand, and he presses a. There's actually a cool app you can get to do this, which basically keys in your phone into the speaker system, so you can basically like get control of a speaker system by talking through your phone like a microphone. So he stops. He presses it. Ladies and gentlemen, you thought that this evening was almost over. However, I, Balthazar Coldmorn, have one more surprise in store, one more delightful tribulation up my sleeve. In a spirit of peace, goodwill, and brotherhood between all kindred kind. By the way, I take it that the peace between or rather the Carthian reintegration has already been, it's not private knowledge. I can talk about that, can't I?
Oh no, it hasn't actually been announced yet. You just have the inside scoop, because you're the keeper for the night, basically.
Would it be bad form for me to announce it?
Probably. You get. I'll say you have it. Actually, no. You were because you. I remember that Stanford didn't say to you, but said in the meeting, so you'd be aware that he wanted to announce it himself. So you'd sort of be stepping on the king's toes. Normally it wouldn't be bad form. Like, it would make sense for the keeper to announce something that happened at the Elysium. But given that it appears the king wants to announce the matter personally, it would probably be more polite to simply allow the king to announce it.
Oh, that's absolutely fine. He will acquiesce to the king, but what he will say, in the spirit of peace, considering the dark time that we have ourselves in at this moment, I wish to make a gift, if you would be so kind, as to indulge an old kindred for a few moments. The honoured representatives of the Carthian movements are our friends, and at this point, our neighbours. And I fear as though we have been less, in some cases, than amiable and charitable as one should be. With this in mind, what was the name of the kindred? I know that it was shortened to Raj, but it wasn't Raj.
Rahendra. Rajenderr. Sorry, Rajendraa. I think it's pronounced Rahendra.
Yes, it is. I think you're right. Would the kindred known as Rahendra please do me the service of stepping forward?
It's the individual that you see. He doesn't really step forward, it's more that the small circle of kindred compatriot he has sort of part from him for a moment, revealing him. You see a middle-aged Indian man with rather pronounced mustache and goatee.
Is it a fabulous stash in goatee?
Not sure I call it pronounced, I wouldn't call it fabulous. Sort of take a loose step forward. He appears like... He actually appears somewhat suspicious. Doesn't say anything, he just sort of acquiesced. He's wearing a rather... one of the least fashionable individuals of the evening. Like, he's put in a modicum of effort for the Elysium, but, he's not really wearing anything more than a very simple suit.
In the spirit of kindred unity, and in the spirit of us all being bastions of the night, in a world that seeks to drag us into the dawn, I wish to make a gift to you. There are several businesses that have recently... hang on, so Chris, just so I can understand, what have I actually bought that used to belong to him? Or that should belong to him? Are they buildings, houses? What do I have that I can give him?
Oh, 1 second. You know that you actually bought a banqueting hall. That he'd been clinging to against Fox's wishes. Well, you perhaps don't necessarily know. You could probably infer that. But yeah, funnily enough, I'd say, well, he already possesses the banqueting hall, but there is a large number of properties near the banqueting hall where Alejandra is known to either hang around or rest in. Orchid Avenue was almost the entire street got bought out by Fox's company. So you have only just now repurchased. Oh.
I take it that was you sneezing.
Yeah. The whole street. All those sneezes. A house for every sneeze.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it Orchid Avenue, did you say? Orchid is in the flower?
Orchid Avenue. Yeah, it's right in the middle of Seville.
Okay. He will say, I have purchased a gift for you. Or rather, I have a gift for you. I'm led to understand that you have a particular interest in a street known as Orchid Avenue.
I do.
It's yours. Legally speaking. I have acquired the land deeds to all of the addresses on that street, previously held by a unscrupulous businessman. And without boons, without financial remuneration, simply for the common good of kindred kind, I am happy to bequeath it back to you. My lawyers will send you the deeds in the morning. And he offers to shake his hand.
Rahanja give a lopsided smile. Though you see it's slightly malicious. Maybe vindicated is a better word. As he stifles and contains what would be a laugh. Not at you. You think at the expense of Coldmorn. No, sorry, you think at the expense of Fox. Only say, why, thank you very much to Coldmorn. I appreciate that. Truly I do.
As I said, the spirit of unity.
Spirit of unity.
Several other kindred in this room, as a matter of fact, a few dozen of you, will receive information from my holding company in the next few days, informing them that I am the legal owner of several places, havens, and other important entities within the domains. We will discuss how it is that I may help you recover, repurchase, rebuy your homes and places that hold significance and importance to you. This is a domain that is built upon the concept of a firm foundation. The Invictus are the unconquered because we build roots that are not easily torn up. You will be informed if these properties have come into my hands, and if they have, we will work together to build a new and brighter domain for all and sundry within. I thank you, and I wish you all a very pleasant and blessed evening. And he takes his finger away from the button of his phone to cut off the microphone, and the music can continue. Can I actually make an expression roll for my speech?
Yeah, and I think that would also be an excellent place to end the scene on this. What is most certainly going to be an exceptional success, yes?
I mean, don't jinx me, man. Why do you say that, man? I am going to spend the other willpower for rote, and it is one of my skills, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
My
Just a reminder, if you spend for rote, you can't spend for the
I know.
extra dice, yeah. Just making sure.
So sorry, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. Okay, so it's a total of 15 dice. Is professional training 9 again or 8 again? I think it's 9 again.
I believe it's 9 again. 8 again tends to be for
Yes.
tends to be a higher tier.
That was 10 successes, Chris.
Excellent. And then we shall end the scene on a round of applause for Grace and Generous Sir Coldmorn.
Hooray!
And our most magnanimous and magnificent host. Thank you, Play. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we'll see you all next time. Bye.